Our adventure takes place in the kingdom of Verland, just northeast of Poscus Lake. We are in the month of the Quiet Ghost, which is late winter, with the first hints of spring just on the horizon. Daravar Tanbrow is a dwarf whose passion lies in the bardic arts. He is somewhat of an outcast of his clan, for rather than pursuing their traditional profession of smithing, he stubbornly insisted on following his wanderlust. Thus, he goes where his whims take him, and where his loot is welcomed. His lifestyle has afforded him few friends, but those associates he does have, he values dearly. Crag, also known by some as the Magpie, trained for many years in a foreign monastery. He had hoped the training would help him master his temper and overcome his kleptomania, but half-orc blood is difficult to control, and after too many incidents, he was exiled. In the last few years, Crag's style has changed a bit, becoming more fueled by the brutish nature that dwells just under the surface. He currently works as a mercenary, wielding an exotic weapon fashioned from the claws of a red dragon. He claims that the dragon claw was bestowed upon him at the monastery by an elder monk. Scrap is a kobold who refers to himself as a treasure hunter. Some call him a thief. Others call him a goon. He fights with daggers and is a shifty combatant who utilizes agility, sneakiness, and acrobatics. No one is sure whether or not to trust him, so most try to stay on his good side. And thus, our adventure begins. A cold wind blows, and the campfire sputters. 3 figures lie on bedrolls, tossing and turning, trying to get some sleep after a long day of traveling. But they are restless, for they know that danger lies ahead.
Blast it! I haven't slept a wink! Every time I get close to drifting off, I hear some damned noise that puts me on edge. Listen! Did you hear that just now?
I heard nothing.
Shut your trap, and you will. There it is again!
You ain't heard nothing but the wind. If there be something out there, I would have heard it.
Don't you tell me what I did or didn't hear. It was faint footsteps, accompanied by the labored moans of the undead. Oh, listen to you two. See here, we're all on edge because we're practically sleeping on the doorstep of the dungeon. That was Scrap's idea.
It's better than spending in one more night out in that damned forest, getting eaten by insects and stabbed with thorns.
Quiet yourselves. If you keep arguing, we'll draw the attention of something. For once, why don't either of you talk about something helpful? Daravar, tell me again about this thing that you're after. Very well, Crag. As I was explaining previously, etched in relief upon some wall, deep within Drossknot, is the scene of an ancient battle, known as Murdoch's Last Stand, during which a legendary warrior of these lands met his doom at the hands of a fell priest. The details of this important event are hazy, much of it lost to history. It is of bardic pertinence that I copy down this long-lost image and any relevant lore. I will be honoring not only my own name, but my entire circle of associates. Much can be learned from the past. We dwarves believe firmly in that. Seems simple enough. And you, Scrap? You're after some sort of claw?
Something like that.
Would you care to tell me more about it?
I'll know it when I see it. Look, I've been hired as a treasure hunter, and you as a warrior. Let's keep it at that.
Suit yourself. I thought you were supposed to be some sort of monk. What's with the scale mail? It's easier to let the armor do its job than to always have to be bouncing around and darting side to side.
Eventually, the small band of adventurers fell into an uneasy sleep. To their backs stood a tangled forest of half-barren, gnarled thorn trees. To their front lurched a massive earthen escarpment, out of which jutted the entrance to the dungeon. Now, in the gray light of the early morning, they approach. A set of heavy stone doors seals the entrance shut. Scrap produces a set of thieves' tools and sets to work. Within a few minutes, the lock is foiled. Derivar and Crag light lanterns, then heave open the doors, revealing worn stone steps which descend into darkness.
Well, there it lies. The dungeon of Drossknot. It's really dark down there. Haven't spent much time underground, have ye? I try not to.
It's not so bad, once you get used to it.
The three explorers grow tense as they make their way into the underground structure, down to the bottom of the steps. The entry chamber is in ruins. A far wall, along with part of the ceiling, has come down. Chunks of rock and rubble are strewn across the room. The floor is cracked and worn flagstone, the color of dirty eggshells. The whole of the area is covered in a fine layer of crumbling dirt clay that comes from the ground in these parts. To the west and east are more descending stone steps. As the party cautiously navigates the ruined chamber, Derivar hears something moving around. He halts his comrades and points it out. Behind a mound of rubble, he spots a giant scorpion. The massive vermin is the size of a horse. It is covered in spiked carapace and has large, powerful pincers. Scuttling stealthily along in the shadows nearby are two smaller scorpions. Derivar shouts,
Monstrous vermin! Straight ahead! Ready yourselves, lads!
Scrap, hidden behind a big chunk of rock, was already taking aim. He launches a surprise attack by throwing a dagger at the giant scorpion. The dagger deflects off the beast's thick carapace. Derivar and the young scorpions wait for the stronger members to engage. Scrap, not hesitating, draws another dagger from his sash and flings it. The throw is wild, and the dagger clatters off the mound of rubble. He draws a dagger in each hand and growls frustratedly. The giant scorpion moves over to Crag and snaps with its powerful pincers. Crag bats them away with the dragon claw. The young scorpions close in. One of them attacks. Its stinger connects only with the scales of Crag's armor. Crag then lands a glancing blow, and the claws of his weapon scrape against the scorpion's body. Derivar steps up to the creature and brings his warhammer down upon it, forming a slight weak spot in its carapace.
Strike him there!
Scrap hops over to the young scorpion near him and comes down with his twin daggers. He slices the pincers from the creature's arms, and it falls over convulsing. He springs onward, somersaulting over the mound of rubble, and vanishes from sight. Despite being closely threatened by Crag, the giant scorpion goes to attack the dwarf that cracked his carapace. Crag tries to intercept the attack but misses. The scorpion's great claw clamps down painfully on Derivar and latches on. The young scorpion scuttles nimbly around to flank Crag and stings him painfully in the leg. He lashes out with his claw blade, but it is blocked by the giant scorpion's tough, natural armor. Derivar steels himself and musters his dwarven resilience. He unleashes a mighty dwarven battle cry. It does not faze the scorpions, but the bardic magic urges Crag to better positioning. He struggles then to free himself from the grab, but cannot get free. Scrap darts out from behind the rubble, flings a dagger at the giant scorpion, then darts back. The dagger spins through the air, then sticks deeply between the carapace plates. Blood and goop begins to trickle from the wound. The giant scorpion flicks its stinger at Derivar. Crag swings the dragon claw with guardian instinct, which catches the scorpion's tail with a light wound. His attack is not enough to stop it, however, and the dwarf is stung. The stinger lodges into Derivar's side, and a painful toxin surges through the wound. He begins to feel his torso and legs begin to seize up. Oh! The young scorpion skitters behind Derivar, but its sting glances off his chainmail. Crag yells with half-orc fury and strikes the scorpion with the dragon claw. His attack not only slashes open a serious wound, but he grabs onto the creature. Using all his might, he pulls at the monstrous beast.
Get off the dwarf!
He drags the scorpion away from Derivar, then flips it onto its back. Derivar cringes from the poison flowing through him. He brings his warhammer down on the juvenile scorpion next to him, smashing it flat. He then utters bardic words of healing, which soothe his wounds. A moment later, the effects of the poison begin to subside, for dwarves are a hardy folk whose bodies are adept at overcoming toxins. Scrap hustles over to the giant scorpion, stabs at it with each dagger, missing both times. He then darts back a few feet. The giant scorpion struggles for a moment, then flips itself back over. It strikes with snapping claws and catches Crag. He grunts in pain as blood begins to trickle down his leg. He swings his weapon at the scorpion, but the attack is blocked. He struggles to rip himself free of the constricting grip, but is unable to escape. Derivar, able to move once again, jogs over to flank the monstrous vermin. He swats the thing's tail with his hammer, and there is a slight crunching sound of chitin being splintered.
There! I softened it up! Now get in here and fight, you jumpy bastard!
With a hiss, Scrap leaps forward and plunges his daggers into the scorpion beast. Blood and strange-colored goo squirts out, and the creature collapses.
I killed it! Oh, I killed it!
The excitement of victory seems to overcome the kobold.
Scrap, the way you fight is bizarre. You're all jittery.
Did you seize me in the pinches? Or sting it with poison? I don't think so.
It is a strange style, to be sure, but I would expect such from a kobold.
I thought kobolds favored the use of traps.
I do traps. I'm a good with traps, too.
Well, just remember whose side you're on. Now, let's rest up for a minute or two, then get moving.